But developing closer to home, Brandwater saying it's got plans in place to ensure that taps don't run dry today should Samwu affiliated workers go ahead with that strike over a dispute about payment bonuses amongst other issues. The water utility says it has formally received notification of the planned industrial action from the union this morning. For more on this, let's bring in the union's Gauteng Provincial Secretary, Bafana Zungu, who joins us now via our telephone line. Bafana, great to chat to you. Thanks so much for making time for us this morning. Part of what Brandwater has said is that if the strike goes ahead today, it will be both illegal and unprotected. What's your response to that?
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for having me, and greetings to the members of SAM and the community at large. Look, the strike is going ahead as prepared. We have emphasized to the public to run water into our members properly that the strike is protected, and the provisions thereof is based on the Labor Relations Act, Section 64 of Subsection 4, which means once the employer reverts and restore the conditions of services as it was before they change unilaterally without consulting labor component within Brandwater, indeed the strike would stop. That's the only demand we are enforcing and putting before the employer, because the parties did not sit around the table and review the conditions of services if there is something wrong with it. So on the eve of the Easter Monday, management rise up and implemented the conditions of services unilaterally. So the provision of the LSA does provide it. So the threat to say the strike is unprotected, it is just a hearsay when we have pointed the management how this section works if they are not educated on it.
Okay. It appears to me that discord is in various places. Perhaps let's take it systematically. Is this issue the contention before the CCMA?
The process of this section is that the applicant, in this case the union, goes or approaches the CCMA, you file the conciliation. After that, it provides that you can also, once the CCMA set down the matter for conciliation, at any given stage, the union can service or serve the employer within 48 hours to say, we will embark on the industrial action. In this case, we did that last week, Friday, and it's more than 48 hours. Employer is not willing to reverse and restore the conditions of services. So we are provided with the provision of the Labor Relations Act, and there is a recourse in that case. So the only thing we are demanding is to reverse and restore the conditions of services as it was.
Would it not make more sense to have some kind of response in the form of a strike action after reconciliation from the CCMA itself, which my understanding that's going to take place sometime next week?
That is not what the LRA says. The Labor Relations Act says, as I'm saying, at any given time, for example, the dispute has been lodged with the CCMA. There is nothing stopping Brandwater to approach the union and say, let us conciliate the matter, even before the CCMA. So it shows the arrogance of the employer we are having, who just wake up and implement conditions of services without consulting the other one. We remain open because we are citizens after all. We are remain open to discuss with the employer. Even now, 24 hours, we are ready to discuss with them. And we are not demanding something that is outside of this world. It is simple. We are just saying restore the conditions of services and consult us. Let the parties sit around the table and resolve.
Okay, we'll speak about those conditions of services in just a moment. I just want to understand your strategy a bit better. I am open to the idea that the LRA allows you to go ahead with the strike. I'm trying to get a sense of whether or not strategically it's the best thing to do, given the fact that we're still to hear from the CCMA itself. Obviously, you're saying that is the case.
Well, look, maybe the gurus of law, they will interpret this one day. But if this strike was illegal, there was nothing stopping Randwater to go to Labour Court and interdict the strike. They are not doing that because they know very well. And their senior counsel had tried last night to send the intention to interdict. They are trying to threaten the workers and the union, which they understand this piece of law, that it does allow the union to do what they've done.
All right. If the strike does go ahead, I imagine this interdict is not in place yet. How many workers affiliated to your unions that are likely to down tools, and what impact is that going to have on services, do you envision?
We all understand that water is essential and is very important. So, as such, there are also governing laws or legislation that the plants may not completely shut down. So there will be skeleton workers that might be assisting, especially during COVID time. So the public does need water to comply with COVID-19 regulation. So the moment employer comes on the table and confirm that the unilateral changes will be reversed, we will go full force to work as employees.
And what are some of those changes that you're asking for?
We are simply saying the incentives that the workers, as per the policies of Randwater, used to get annually, which is not too much. It's about 15,000 for the whole year for a general worker. We're saying it must be restored immediately. These workers, they work tirelessly during COVID-19, providing water to all the society. What is the problem now when the employer has to incentivize the workers? He just take it away. The hearsay to say the company does not have money. It is a simple exercise. Let them bring the statement of the company and present to the stakeholders within the company. We are reasonable. Once someone presents the case before the trade union, we will look at that case and discuss and find a way forward, collectively moving forward without imposing the changes. I will make a simple example. The vaccine called Johnson & Johnson, when the Minister of Health pronounced to the entire country to say it will stop, we believe that he did consult with stakeholders that were relevant in that case before pronouncing. What is stopping Randwater from learning in terms of consulting? And all these years they've been consulting. What has changed now? These are the questions that we have, which we believe it will be answered once we meet with management in Randwater.
Bafana, allow me to come back to this question because I don't think I got a clear enough answer from you. The strike is going ahead today. I don't think you said how many of your actual members are going to be taking part in the strike, but are you able to tell the public unequivocally that the strike is not going to have any bearing on the provision of water to consumers?
Well, we will comply with the legislation to say at least 20% of workers will be continuing working. So the strike is going ahead. We are not so sure how many workers will be participating. We waited for management to also meet with us to deal with the numbers. How many will be on strike? How many will be continuing working?
All right, but are you able to guarantee that there won't be any disruption to water supply as a result of the strike action is what I'm asking?
Well, once there is a strike, the disruption will be there. For example, once there's a go-slow, even people are not going in a straight, there is a disruption. So there will be a disruption caused by Randwater for not consulting with the union.
All right, Bafana Zungu, thanks very much for chatting to us, painting quite a different picture from Randwater itself. Bafana is Samwu's General Provincial Secretary. Thanks very much indeed. A developing story, as you can see, it almost feels like Randwater and the union are pulling in very different directions. Randwater being unequivocal that there won't be any disruption yesterday. Today we're hearing from the union itself that they can't guarantee that in some respects. You and I are going to have to wait and see.